Welcome back to Romance Review TV with Lady T. Oh my God, you guys, we have commitment ceremony number 4. And yeah, it got messy once again because of the whole fallout from, the retreat. And 2 of our couples are pretty much over. And those same 2 people within that coupling wants to recouple and stay in the experiment. And we're going to unpack all of this. Plus, we got to talk about April and George and how all this stuff went down in Jonathan and Sophie. So before we do, take a second to make sure you're subscribed to the channel, receive all updates, and please don't forget to like and share. So now the retreat, one of the messiest ones I've seen besides the one in Australia, has now come to an end. All of the couples are back in their apartments. And it kind of highlights the whole thing that's still going on with George and April, because as much as they tried to work on their relationship together, all of the outside influences have really been causing them some problems. And, especially with people calling their relationship fake. Then we also have this other situation that also kind of spilled over from the retreat, is this situation between Jonathan and Sophie and his brutal honesty and, how it makes her feel. And yeah, we're going to hear a lot more about that at the commitment ceremony. But they started off so well until they got, with the other group of folks. But we'll talk about that in a minute. And then, too, we still have the messiness that's going on with Gemma and Matt and Whitney and Duka. Now, I always say it in any of my recaps is, why would you continually want to push a situation where the other person is not interested in you? So, we're going to talk about this now. So, let's go ahead and get into this whole commitment ceremony number 4. They all come on in, and our first couple we're going to talk about is Thomas and Adrian. Now, one thing I gotta say is that they've made some progress over this past week. The thing is that Thomas cannot, I guess, refrain from joining into any kind of drama. I think I've seen him walk out so many times in this season so far, and it's not over because he's going to walk out again. But Adrian, I guess they're slowly kind of meeting in the middle, and at the end of the day, they decided to stay. It's going to be interesting to see how they move forward at this point. But I say they've made some strides? Yeah, I really think so. Let's talk about April and George. So April and George turn on the hot seat. George looks like he is just over this whole process. He looks like he's exhausted. April and he have a lot of trust issues. He has a lot of trust issues. And, you got to fix those things before coming to any relationship, no matter who you are. Because what's going to happen is you're going to project those same trust issues from your past onto your new person. And as they say, don't make your new person pay for all of the things that you went through in your past. And that's what's happening with here, because he got a lot of insecurities. The other thing is that he has been confiding in Adrian. And as much as that's been happening, Thomas don't like it. Thomas is over the fact that he's coming and, having conversation with Adrian, and Thomas actually thinks the relationship is fake. But, it was interesting to see how Adrian kind of twisted it all and say, hey, I know you've been talking to me, but. And I'm like, yikes. I mean, that's somebody he confided in. Anyway. But at the end of this, do I think at this point, because I already know everything, is going on outside, because this was filmed months and months ago. But they probably could have worked this through if he didn't have so many insecurities and so many issues. And usually when you have that much fear, you can become controlling, because nobody's going to walk on eggshells around you. You just can't live like that. And it's just not healthy for him either. to always be in fear. But at this point, they decided to go ahead and stay in the process and try to work through whatever this is. And we got to see how it unfolds. And they also say that they're going to try to keep outside comments and things outside of the relationship. Zoe and Jenna, they had made a lot of strides. Jenna brought up why she was feeling a certain way at the last commitment ceremony because she felt blindsided by some of the things Zoe had to say that wasn't discussed with her previously. And so now they seem to be in a good place. They've worked through the core values of meat versus vegan. So we really haven't heard anything about that in the last few episodes. So they seem to be doing pretty well at this point. And both of them decided to stay in the process and move forward. Because next week is homestays week, where they get to go back home and see families and meet families and things. So they decided to actually stay. Next couple, Jonathan and Sophie. Now, with these two, they started off great. She had an issue about his classism and things like that, but that went out of the window on the honeymoon. And they were fine until they got amongst the group. And when he made his comments about he really don't like an overly muscular woman because she works out with Matt and I think one of the other guys, yeah, that didn't sit well. And then it went into this whole conversation about weight and how he have a preference. Here's my thing. Everybody have a preference. We're dealing with that on the U.S. version with Mitch and Kristen, where he likes a woman that's more natural and not all made up and everything. Everybody have a preference, just like women don't want broke dudes. Women don't want, and not all. There's some women that don't want guys under a certain height. They want a six-pack. They want six figures. Well, men have preferences too. Now, how he expressed those preferences is what, most of the folks here, including his wife, don't like. The term brutally honest came up several times. There are persons that are very direct. Me, I appreciate that. I have a lot of people in my life who speak the truth and they're very blunt about it. And I'm okay with that. Everybody's not like that. And so unfortunately in a setting like this, there were a lot of people that wasn't happy about the fact that he spoke his mind. At the end of it all, they did decide to stay with each other and work through the process. And I think at this point, they just need to focus on each other. I mean, they haven't had as much time as the other couples, but I think they can work it out. Shanita and Jordan, one of my top couples, they're doing fine. I really don't have too much to say about them. They always smile. Shanita is just so bubbly and giggly. They decided to stay, and so no major issues here. We still got probably another 12 episodes to go, so hopefully they stay the course. Kwame, Keisha. Kwame has made strides with Keisha. These two are talking about life outside of the process. And so much so that Kwame is like, you know what? Thanks. I'm out. We're good. We're in this bubble. I think we need to be on our own now. And that didn't sit too well with the experts and probably with production because, of course, they want to keep the drama going. But I will say that as much as they can't leave because they have a contract, the other thing is I do understand where they're coming from because they have very different lives. They both own businesses. They both have kids. You need to see outside of this process how that's going to work. In this bubble, you can't see that. But ultimately, they ended up staying together. And yeah, I'm happy for them. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. Last but not least, the experts handled these four differently. So they brought Gemma and Matt to the couch and left Duka and Whitney over to the side. Okay, so from what I understand, Matt, Whitney had a conversation with Duka ahead of the retreat to say, you know what, we want to pursue a connection over here. He knew. Gemma didn't know. However, it was stated in the past week on Instagram that Matt told her, and they both call it quits right after the last commitment ceremony number 3. However, he did not express to Gemma the fact of the whole, I need to pursue my connection with Whitney. That part she didn't know about. My thing is, if a person has broken up with you and you already know we're done, we're over, you know, and like, I hate to say, you know, with Whitney, there are times that sometimes people, men and women, even though we got the broke up message, people still want to pursue and hope, and maybe it'll turn around, maybe they'll change their mind. Don't give a person that many times to tell you, I don't want you. I mean, at some point, I get it, emotions and feelings, but I would rather, and that's me enjoying the brutal truth. If you say, you know what, I don't think this is going to work out, I don't think you're my cup of tea, I'm okay with that, because I already know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and everybody isn't for me. I mean, with this whole argument, Zoe jumped into it, you know, this back and forth between, you know, Gemma and Whitney and Matt and the people in the group and all of this. It just got so messy. And I honestly think Matt was completely turned off in the beginning, because do I think he was interested in her? Absolutely. But when you as a person, whether male or female, decides that on the first week you open and pull out, and the self-pleasuring and the aggressive behavior when you're trying to get to know somebody, yeah, and Duka, he should have left a long time ago, because Whitney had, how many times did Whitney say leave? Thank God Gemma said leave, because at this point it's over. I understand you're here for the process, you want to meet someone, but that's part of the process. There are people who are not going to click. It's a experiment. And so if in fact that people don't connect, at this point you just don't connect. And then a lot of it is theatrics and TV and all of this drama and stuff. And a lot of these stuff people know beyond the end of it. However, now that this is all said and done, Whitney and Matt wants to stay in the process as a new couple. And of course, Gemma is like, well, she had plenty of time to get it together with Duka. She already said weeks ago she was done with Duka. Duka's hit stay. She kept saying leave. And part of the process is that you got to stay. On the flip side, you know, I just wish that the show, I don't know, it's just interesting to say the least. But honestly, I just wish them the best. Hopefully, Gemma finds the person for her. Duka finds the person for him. If this works out for Whitney and Matt, we'll all see it in the end. But yeah, it's going to be a big question, because they left us with this cliffhanger on whether the experts are going to allow them to recouple in the process. So we'll have to wait and see to see what their answer is. Okay, so let's get the conversation started down in the comments section. What do you think about April and George moving forward? Jonathan and Sophie moving forward? And do you think that Whitney and Matt should recouple and stay in the process? I want to know your thoughts. So until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye.